Yeah, we'll call to order.
Okay.
I second. I missed myself in the last meeting minute, so I have to, make myself heard.
All in favour? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So public participation.
Oh, no, that's okay.
No, you're just going to sit in? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Approval of minutes from March 5th. Did everybody get a chance to read them? Any comments? So motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Ira, that's your chance.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I feel like I'm supposed to abstain.
I wasn't
So-
either.
Oh,
So you're not required to abstain, just so you know. The town attorney has told us that, but you can. Because I would feel the same way, that if you don't attend it would be weird to accept minutes, but you can vote on minutes you didn't attend.
I'll
But,
second them.
Sorry, so who made the
That's
motion and
Susie.
who accepted?
Susie is seconding.
Thank you, Susie.
all in favour?
Aye.
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 Can you put your hand up? Yeah.
Susie,
I'm unanimous. Yeah.
verbally. My hand
Thanks.
is up. All right.
No, thanks. Item 4 on the agenda. Claire was going to give us an update on the MVP. Where's Claire? Hi, Claire.
Sorry about that. I was muted.
Oh, no
Hi,
worries.
everyone. All right. So the meeting, so for MVP, we had our closeout session, if you can believe it, almost 3 weeks ago now. We essentially ran through the evaluation framework, and we discussed all of the ways it could be likened to a specific project. So we took one project that we're working with engineering and the Clean Lake Committee on, and essentially it is the entire taking Main Street and doing all of the outfall work and drainage and putting it into 1 or 2 outfalls and essentially consolidating, I believe, 7 to 10 of them. In addition to putting in additional rain gardens and other treatment areas, we ran it through the framework as an example of what that might look like through a tabletop exercise. And then we talked about different ways that we can improve upon it, how we might utilize public engagement a little bit better. And it was basically just an example about how we can utilize the framework. I haven't sent out the email to everyone regarding the framework and how this particular tabletop was used. I will be sending that out shortly. It's been pretty hectic, so I will send that out in the next week or so.
Thanks.
Claire, you felt like using a real use case, it held up, that the framework kind of held up and worked?
I did. We had essentially we were utilizing it within the tabletop, so that way in the case that we thought it didn't hold up, we could make adjustments right then and there. We were pleasantly surprised at how well it did hold up. I think it'll be interesting to see the application with other committees, primarily because this was like an engineering exercise and we knew it already fit the framework fairly well. I would be curious to see what it looks like for our like ZBA versus, ESC, and how it outlines other projects that maybe don't line up quite as well. I do think that it'll line up for the most part well enough that we can utilize it across the board though.
That's great. That's cool.
I was impressed. So.
And then you were thinking about some kind of training, right? And I know that that's, we're in weird times now and that's hard to do, but do you have thoughts on how you're gonna, because it's true, there are departments where it can apply, but it will feel like more of a stretch.
So the closeout that we had, every person who sits on a committee was invited. It was the training, and
Cool.
whoever showed up was trained, and then whoever wasn't. But I plan to send out an email that fairly explicitly outlines how it can be used for each committee. And then if they have any questions, I'm still available to walk people through it if they need any more advice or guidance.
And it may not be directly related, but when is the next grant round for MVP grants?
It's coming up at the end of April.
Oh.
So we are putting forth 2 projects. We still are expecting to hear from the state because it's still not guaranteed. as to whether or not there's going to be any delays. As of right now, the state is saying there might be some delays. It might not come out at the end of April, but it should be April 27th is what they're saying. And then they might give additional time for people to put their applications together. So we're waiting on some more information regarding that.
So
Which
the
would
RFP
affect
doesn't come out
our-
until April, so it won't be due for a couple of months, right?
That's the expectation, is
Okay.
that part is going to get delayed. Yeah.
And you all were going to submit like a big infrastructure project, and then are you resubmitting, or are we resubmitting the sort of revised version of the one we submitted before?
Yeah, so the infrastructure project that we used for the tabletop series was the project that we're hoping to submit for MVP. So that would be the Main Street Lake Quantipout project. The project that ESC, in addition to myself and a couple of other folks, worked on is the social vulnerability assessment and the greenhouse gas emissions assessment. We plan to resubmit that.
Cool.
Anybody else got any other discussion on a question? No? All right. Thanks, Claire.
Sure.
Item 5, pending business. So, 2020 Earth Day. Obviously, we had a lot of different plans going on, and a lot of that's been cancelled. So we're going to still try and do the public outreach with some articles. Myra's been working on some of that for us. Also, we just got off the meeting with the Clean Lake Committee, and they would like to be involved in that as well. If we could add in some part of the environment around the lake, what people are thinking. That was a discussion we had at the last meeting with, and Claire was there too. Myra, do you want to talk about it a bit? What you had in mind for some of the...
Sure. We were talking about so initially the idea was to do sort of like a bunch of letters or something, a letter a day or something for the month of April. And then that got delayed and sort of put off as the focus has shifted. So Rob and I were talking about maybe trying to engage the schools a little bit around around having students do some kind of reflection on Earth Day, and then finding a way to add some publicity to it. So I talked to Jen McDonald, and the town is happy to sort of help us think about how to put it out there. They thought maybe WCAT might be interested in sort of putting it, if we put a product together, like a slideshow or something. And so we were drafting an outreach to the principals to think about, is there a question that the students could be asked around environment ideas? And we were sort of, Mary and Rob and I were tossing around some ideas about what the question would be or what we would ask for. And so and then we would sort of collect them and put it into sort of a slideshow, if it was like a picture or sort of a couple words around what the environment means to them, or a picture of them doing something in nature, or sort of find another way if it was like a little bit of a longer reflection or essay or something that kids wanted to write. And then we were also thinking about whether it makes sense to reach out to a community groups on a broader, to just get some thoughts about it. But we wanted to sort of bring it to you guys around what you all think would be sort of the focus that we would want. Maybe if we think about sort of the schools first, we think about sort of younger kids or high school kids, about what we would, what would be most powerful or what would be most helpful as we think about just sort of like raising some awareness around Earth Day, and or sort of getting kids thinking about the environment a little bit in the course of the month. So I had 2 ideas, and then Mary added a third one, which I thought was great. So one idea being sort of a question around sort of what does the environment mean to you? A second idea being sort of like, what are you doing or what could we do as a community to improve our environment? And then Mary suggested sort of even having a picture of them sort of out enjoying nature. And again, I feel like we've all really sought out opportunities to be in nature as we cope with being away from people. And so that might be another sort of tie-in to making the link between our environment and what we're all experiencing. So I don't know if anybody has feedback or thoughts on that and how we get both our goals and then what also might resonate with kids.
I guess I have some thoughts about, not about the topic and the writing, just thinking about, can we really expect the schools to help us with this right now? And it doesn't sound like you talk to anybody kind of in the schools. I'm worried that the teachers are trying to get their arms around just what's going on a daily basis. I have no idea what kind of reaction you would get. And I suspect that while we might, while you might get a good response, but I don't know if now is the time, because so much is changing, and the way that things are changing kind of every couple of weeks, and we're heading into April vacation, and that is still kind of an open discussion of what's going to happen there. I'm reluctant to put it into the schools as another thing for administration to have to worry about right now, because I just think administration is like up here underwater, right? I talked to Doug today for about an hour, and not only are they thinking about what's happening today and what's happening next week and what's happening for April vacation, but they have to think about what the future looks like. And so they are really overwhelmed, and rightly so. And I think teachers are overwhelmed. Like, to me, I would love to see an assignment come out through schools to be like, so again, the April vacation decision has not yet been made, but if there's going to be April vacation, wouldn't it be great to give kids an assignment as something to do over April vacation to write about Earth Day, right? Like, to me, that would be a perfect assignment. And yet I'm super reluctant to go into the schools and say like, hey, could you guys take this one more thing? Because I just think they're so overwhelmed by the situation. And Doug would never characterize it that way, nor does he sound overwhelmed, but I just know the sheer nature of all of the things that they're trying to balance right now is overwhelming.
I know that for the Clean Lake Committee, we had talked about the possibility of going through parents and PTOs or the Wakefield Moms Facebook page, and targeting parents who are looking for ways to entertain their kids, and maybe doing it all through like social media or doing write-ins to the Wakefield item, kind of like what we had talked about, but do more of like a grassroots organization sort of thing, rather than going through folks who are already extraordinarily stressed out and have way too many things on their plates.
I honestly love that idea, and I think that's the way to go, because I think some of the parents who will, if we have the week off and working parents aren't taking the week off and they're trying to figure out things for their kids to do, I could totally see parents getting rallying around that and using Wakefield Moms and the other kind of ways to talk about that. So yeah, my preference would be to stay away from trying to push it through the schools. I think that was going to be difficult even under the normal circumstances, and now it just doesn't feel like the right time.
So just still copy them in and let them know, but
sure,
potentially go through the PTOs.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get the PTOs to help for sure. And you never know, the schools might do something with it. I would be more comfortable having that be our backup. And if it happens, great. If the schools decide to jump on it and help promote it, great. But that shouldn't be the primary way that we try to make this happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I know, I mean, at least at the elementary level, I think the PCOs have been trying to do something, at least our PCO in the Woodville has been trying to do something sort of like every week, something around community building. And so there's like things hanging in windows. And so I think that, but obviously, I mean, everything is optional, right? Everything that has come out across the community is sort of optional. And I think that's sort of, this is certainly in that spirit. But I hear you definitely. It's hard to reach out. I think all of us with kids in elementary schools are still sort of overcoming the emotion of the videos that we all saw of our, the teachers sort of reaching out to kids. And so it is remarkable the amount that they're doing, for sure.
What about
Sophie and Addie, what do you guys think?
Well, I agree with what you were saying about how maybe don't go through the schools because of everyone and everyone trying to have the teachers give out all the work. But I feel like, I usually do my work until around like 2 or so in the afternoon, and then I'm done for the rest of the day. So like having something, and I know for my brothers, speaking for them, they get done even earlier and they're younger. So it would be more, more directed towards them being younger to have something more to do. So I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think for younger kids it would be good. I personally, it takes me a lot longer than 2 o'clock to finish my work, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. So I don't know if high schoolers would be eager to do like a writing assignment after like a full day of Learn Anywhere. But I think that like younger kids would definitely be excited to do something.
I think that, and the PTOs, I don't even know if you guys have a PTO at the high school level. I should probably know that, but like the PTO at the Galvin hasn't been super active since all of this started. So I think elementary is probably where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck anyway. And I think there are some parents, like I would attempt to do something with my kids about it, and they're in 7th grade, of an assignment, for them to either research. And I don't know how much guidance you guys really need to give on topics. I think a couple of prompts would probably be good for kids to be able to at least start with. But I don't know that you have to go too crazy, because then it gives kids some latitude to kind of pick what might be interesting to them to either research or look into or write about. For younger kids, though, I could see where a prompt might be helpful.
I'm part of Boston Climate Strike, and we're doing we've had to rework our Earth Day plans because we were originally going to strike on Earth Day, but obviously that can't happen anymore. So we're working on art campaigns and creative projects that I think younger kids could probably do. So if you guys want to check that out, it should be on Instagram soon.
Yeah, and to Addie's point, I think that we should be really explicit that we don't mind what mode people respond in, whether it's art or it's a paragraph or a sentence or a dance, and people post that. I mean, it could be a rain dance, right? It could be anything. That we're looking for some creativity in the mode that people respond in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, haikus, it can be anything. Let's just keep it open. We don't need a ton of rules. And I love looking at what Climate Strike is doing too.
Everyone's so virtual right now too, that even something as simple as taking a picture of, if you planted flowers that week, or, really any kind of expression or symbol of, what Earth Day means to you and how you're sort of nurturing the environment in some way, taking out the compost bin, whatever it is, a picture of yourself. I actually think that would be more successful. I think originally pre-COVID, I think there's the pre-COVID world, and then now we're in the thick of things. It's whatever's going to give folks almost like a mental health break, if we can encourage that by getting them out with nature, or because there is a mental health element of this as well. And, as I know Myra knows as well, being a full-time working parent of an elementary school child, and in healthcare, it's been nonstop for me, but those little assignments of making a poster for the nurses and putting in your window, as much as I'm oh God, I got to do that, it does kind of make you feel good. And it's just generally good for your mental health to feel you're involving your kids in the middle of something that's very confusing, overwhelming, and anxiety provoking, and something that allows them to feel a little bit more empowered. And so the more we can do to be flexible in how we approach this during this time, but also try to align, you know, nature, treating the earth well, and our mental health, I think they're all connected. And our physical health, right? So fresh air, the sun, can't be bad. So I don't know, do we want to then focus on just elementary? That's kind of what I've been hearing. Elementary, make it as easy as possible, simplify. I know, Myra, I don't know if you had thoughts or concerns.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that and it feels most accessible to me. I just think it's almost too bad, because I feel like, you know, like Addie and Sophie, you guys bring like such great ideas. And I feel like it's like a higher level of thinking, and it would be nice if we could find a way to incorporate that into our sort of community reflection on Earth Day. And so I don't know.
What about more of a social media type approach, so that more high school age kids would be open to it? I don't know, just an idea.
What was that, Sophie?
No, I think you could like offer it to everyone, and I think there are definitely the population at the high school or whatnot, middle school, that would be interested in doing it. I just don't think it should be directed specifically to the high school. Maybe make it like one, like not multiple, but have it geared initially towards younger children, and then have like it I mean, it's obviously optional for everyone, but then offer it to everyone as well.
And maybe encourage families to do it together too. You know, a family picture out in nature, something.
Yeah, I feel like if you put it out there through Wakefield Moms, and it's pictures and writing with some prompts that are geared towards younger children and some prompts geared towards older children, at the end of the day, it's going to be the parents that make that happen.
Right.
If they feel like it would be a good exercise for their kids to go through. And right, because it's not going to be the teachers telling them, it's going to be their parents telling them about it, right, unless they somehow discovered it themselves, which is probably pretty unlikely, right? So I think that the prompts are probably what make it, if it's all just like submit a picture or a drawing, like older kids probably are not going to do that. But if it's, you know, you've got some prompts that are geared at a writing assignment that are for older kids, there's some parents who are going to be looking for something to give their kids to do potentially if we don't have school that week in April, that would be like, this is great. Like, sit down for half an hour and write something. So I don't think you have to gear it any which way, because at the end of the day, the parent is the one who's probably going to take it and decide what to do with it.
I think one thing that we do have to talk about is where are we submitting them to, and then also who's like moderating the responses. Are we posting them on a specific Facebook page? Are we submitting them to the Wakefield item eventually? How do we want to disperse the responses? Because I think that's one way to inspire more interest, to ensure that more people are going to be involved and to encourage people to do it. I know that most committees don't have their own Facebook page, or they don't, I mean, like we have our own web pages maybe, but I'm not sure if that's the best place to showcase the responses. So that's one thing that we'd have to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And I haven't talked to the item yet about, you know, if they would be willing to print a subset. I mean, I imagine, I don't know how much news they have these days.
The newspaper is light, right? It's 16 pages, not 20. So I would think they would love that.
What's going on?
I did talk to Jed McDonald by email today around sort of the town website, since we as a committee don't have our own, and she seemed really happy and eager to help us figure out how to do it. She suggested, like, you know, I know the town has a YouTube channel, and sort of if we had videos or a slideshow, we could do it that way. But I said, what if they were a little longer? And so she was just sort of creatively thinking about what it could be. And so I get the sense that she's happy to help, but you're right. I don't know if we can we use we have an email, don't we?
Yeah, we
have. You can send it to me. I don't care.
We'll go there.
But to Claire's point, are people going to really go to the town website as opposed to a Facebook I think Facebook would be a little more fun and
Yeah.
flexible, but we don't have our own. So then is there a Facebook community page that we would prefer to use? The Wakefield community page or something like that, or Wakefield Moms, I think you referenced.
If Jen McDonald is interested in utilizing the town's Facebook page, I think that would be great. And then to have all of the other Facebook pages are kind of aware of the program so they can share it across the board would maybe be the way to go. And if we did it all through the ESC email and then uploaded them to Google, your Google Doc, or Google Drive rather, and then shared them with Jen, I'm sure she could pick and choose which ones she wants to post at any given time. And then maybe there's like a greater platform where people can go and see all the posts. And maybe we can have just like a giant database of all of them.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that.
We also have the Big Purge website and Facebook page if anybody wants to use that. I mean, it wasn't really set up as a town Facebook page, but it kind of morphed into one because the town did all the work on it. Now everything's been postponed, so that's an option as well. I would talk it through with Jen.
That's not a bad idea.
Jen thinks this stuff, Jen's got a good sense of what's out there. I mean, for the high schoolers, it seems like Instagram would be a more natural place, but maybe, maybe we can work with you guys and get stuff for you to post somewhere on Instagram.
Does the town have any Instagram platform?
Instagram or Twitter.
Okay.
I didn't even know we had YouTube until right now.
Yeah, Instagram would be great, especially if people did like little videos or sketches or if they did TikTok.
Yeah.
It's like a
talk
virtual.
Talk to Jen and see what she thinks, Myra. I
Okay.
think she'll figure it out.
Yeah, she seemed really open. And then, I asked her about like if somebody wanted to write something a little bit longer that wouldn't necessarily fit in a slideshow. And she was open to it. We haven't done it as a town before. Sort of publish something like that. But I think a haiku or something would be great too.
All right.
Okay, I love it.
Sounds all right.
Myra, one last thing.
Yeah.
I noticed WCAT was like showing montages of pictures and things and some videos. So that may be another place that it could be showcased. I feel like they show it like before meetings start. I think I was trying to watch the town council meeting on Monday, not realizing that it had started at 6. And at 7 o'clock, they were showing just like pictures and videos and things. So WCAT might be a place too.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Jen
a good
mentioned that.
idea.
I didn't realize that there was that tie-in, but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and if she can be the conduit to that, that would be awesome. Because then you're not having to coordinate it. If she can figure out where it goes on the town website and if she can get it over to them, that would be good.
Great. So I'll try to find out how to talk to the item tomorrow. I'm not a subscriber, so I don't know anything about it, but I will learn. And so just see, what it would take to get some things printed there if we, and if they'd be open to that, which I imagine they would, but a little like box of Earth Day stuff.
Julie, do you have the contact for the item?
I don't, but I'm sure it's online.
All right. Just the second part of that then is pending business is the 2 articles were put in for styrofoam ban and plastic bags. They did go into the town. Cameron's not here to talk about the straws. They were submitted before March 27th, but with everything changing, the town meeting's now potentially not till the end of June. Is it?
We're not sure yet.
Not sure yet. So at the moment we've left them in, but with everything going on, we're not sure how that's going to proceed. So
Makes sense.
So I think we need to just reach out to Melissa and Cameron since they were the leads and see what they're thinking. I know that I've been approached and it's going to be tough right now to put more on small businesses. So I think we need to be careful kind of about how we approach it, but we've got some time to figure it out too.
yeah, so I'll reach out to both of them and see what they want to do, and then we can go from there. So
Just for clarification, so they've been accepted for the town warrant, but are you wondering if they should be removed or tabled, or what are you
Suggesting leaving them on for now, but it's up to the individual who put them in. But we can always put them in and then at town meeting say it's coming up and then potentially hold it off until the fall. Or
Yeah, it could be written in town meeting, and somebody can just stand up and say, we'd like to table this till the fall.
Okay.
I actually personally think it's good to keep it on the warrant. Just, this might not be the right time, but I think it's important for people to know it's kind of out there.
Yeah. Just got student liaisons. Have you got anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, we were just in touch with Andy today about bringing the team to Wakefield, and we said we were willing to work with him and do this, but we were planning on maybe meeting tomorrow or something to further discuss this, and then we can't really, I don't know how we'd take any steps as of now, seeing that we're not really in school with administration, but I'm sure we could get the ball rolling on that while we're not actually in school.
Great. Yeah, I know we were making a list for the bins for the other schools, but everything's closed, so we can't pick anything up right now.
Yeah.
So, but we can at least get that's great, getting the forms in for the green team at the high school. I don't know if there's anybody at the middle school would be a good contact. Susie, if you know someone who might be interested, reach out to the principal.
Sorry. I would start with Adam. I think Andy's in touch with Adam on that stuff anyway.
He's doing a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think because they don't have, as far as I know, they don't have a recycling club or an environmental club or anything like that at the middle school level. And all of, like, the civics projects and all that stuff are, well, actually, I don't know what's happening with the civics projects, so they may not actually be on hold. I should probably check in with Jason about that. But yeah, I would say Adam is probably your best bet for Galvin.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Next, Susie, do you have anything you wanted to share?
I have absolutely nothing. I mean, the budget, so the budget got approved by the school committee. It's not totally clear to me, Rob, kind of what's in there and not related to, you know, the asks that you've made. I feel like the answers that when you've asked and when I've kind of asked, the answers I get are, you know, that food services is kind of working toward, like, they certainly know where you want to go and where we'd like, you know, where we'd like to go and are working toward that. But I haven't been able to get any really straight answers on, is there a budget line item that includes money for some of these things? And that I don't feel like I got a super clear answer on. And I think we're now in a situation that even kind of approving the budget with Dan Sherman's kind of pushback of asking for 4.88 as we head into kind of, you know, a tough economic environment, was feeling a little much. We still voted that through. It'll go to town meeting when town meeting happens. But it is not totally clear to me what money is really going to be set aside with a focus on these kind of initiatives. I think they are top of mind. I think they are important. I think I think the intent is there to move those forward. I think the intent is there. I just think that things have the potential to get really tough next year with budgets. And I think we're just gonna have to see what happens.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Yeah. Jen, do you have anything from the gas and light?
Sure. I'll give a more general update tonight with a few additional little updates. So in general, the department staff are not on site right now. If there is an emergency or anyone has an emergency, they still are handling those calls immediately and will do, I believe, a house visit. But outside of that, there are no house visits for things that are not emergencies. So if there are any customer service issues, you can call the department And if it's not an emergency, they will get back to you. But they are all working remotely at this point, pretty much. The other thing to note is we're kind of starting to do a little bit of prep for customer bill payment issues, which we do foresee could materialize, and we're not sure to what extent. If any customers are having issues paying bills, I believe the department's going to be doing some outreach to say, please get in touch with us and we'll work with you on that issue. So if you hear of people that are concerned about paying bills, you can let them know, to please be proactive in contacting the department, and they will work with them on that issue. So that's really front in our minds, I think, right now. Some of the other quick updates I have is that the EV chargers were installed before all of this happened. So they are up and running, obviously, with no one driving. There's not that much traffic at this point on them. So yeah, they're, like everything on Main Street, they're sitting empty for the time being. Energy efficiency audits have been suspended. We're looking into virtual audits if this does go into the longer term, but at this point, nothing's really happening, just so people know if questions come up. On the solar, the materials were ordered for the municipal building, and at this point, I don't think there are any delays. However, as others have indicated, each day brings new information. So I'll let people know if I hear anything more on that. We are hoping if the project is delayed that the state will provide additional time frame beyond June for us to complete this work and give us a little bit of forgiveness on the $50,000 award for our community. So Julie, I'm not sure, if it gets tight for some reason, we'll let you know, and hopefully we can work with the state to extend.
Yeah, I'll give Jason Lewis's office a heads up.
Yep. But at this point, we don't have any confirmation of a delay. In terms of residential solar, I think things have slowed down. Obviously, people aren't planning big projects right now for there's lots of uncertainty, but I haven't heard for folks that are in the queue of any delays at this point in installation. And I think it kind of depends on supply chain and installers and all of that. And it's obviously all changing and in flux. So if anyone has specific questions on any of this or anything else, you can always email me and I will ask the department the question and get back to you.
Jen, I have a question, and it's personal, but it could be used for other people. So we did some of our work that the audit had suggested, and so now we have to do our post-audit search. Does the program allow for us to do a FaceTime version to show people, hey, look, we sprayed, and we just show the camera, so then we can have the rebate process started? Is there any reason why that can't happen from a regulatory reason?
Well, my first question is, have you contacted the department with that proposal?
So we had our post audit scheduled, and they called us, and right after this happened, and so they canceled it, and we asked the auditors, and they said we don't know, and we haven't heard anything since.
Okay, I recommend you contact the department and ask them that question and see on what you hear.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'd be happy to ask the question.
Yeah,
I totally understand them canceling.
Yeah, tell them what what your status is with the installer and see if there's another option they will consider. I think, my guess is that they will be more lenient during this time frame than they would otherwise. So okay. I'm sure that there would be an approach that everyone could agree would be reasonable.
Okay. Just for context too, I know that our building inspectors are doing inspections by FaceTime and remote, just for context.
So Jen, the talk in my neighborhood is that partly because electrical utilization is a lot lower with most people working at home, but that the amount of our electricity that's been coming from renewable sources has been pretty high lately. Is that continuing to be true?
That's interesting. I didn't hear that in particular. I think residential use is slightly up, but commercial use is down a lot. So net, we are down. That's the update I've heard most recently. And I think the one, you know, we did talk about the one nice thing about the time period that we're in terms of energy use is that the spring and the fall tend to be lower cost and lower energy use in general than the winter heating season and the summer cooling season. So hopefully it won't cause as much of a strain for our customers as it would other times of the year.
Well, I personally have been excited to provide low-cost power for my solar panels back to the grid.
Well, it is true that we're entering the season where solar becomes more available.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that.
Just not today when it's raining.
Correct. Not April in particular, but as we get into May and June, it gets, yeah, that starts to ramp up.
Claire, do you have any updates for us from the DPW?
Yeah, so I will keep it fairly general as well. Like Gas and Light, we essentially, everyone who's able to work from home is, and everyone else who's essential is still going to the office, but they have A and B teams, so they're being as safe as possible. And we're responding to emergent matters as they come up. Regarding MVP, we are hoping to continue public engagement and outreach, and we're hoping to go to town council in early May. So stay tuned for more information there. We're still working on a couple of submittals and projects and presentations, so we're ready to go with that, but that will be relating to Lake Quannapowitt and Main Street project. The last time that I spoke with you folks, we had talked about textiles and that pickup. That is currently postponed indefinitely, which is unfortunate, but they've postponed their pickups for most other communities. And so we're hoping that as soon as this passes, we'll be able to refocus and restart that program. Both the composting and rain barrel sales are ongoing, so people are welcome to make their purchases for both the compost bins and the rain barrels. So both those programs are live and continuing indefinitely. They both have May dates, so we're hoping that those distribution dates will not be affected, but TBD. Recycling contamination, we are being a little bit more lenient, but people who are offenders, really bad offenders, we're still leaving them at the curb, but we're trying to increase engagement around that as well, because we know people are home, they're producing more trash and recycling. How do we make sure that people are really cognizant of that, given that they're home? And just essentially maintaining a high standard for all those good things.
And Claire, what's the main source of the contamination that you're worried about? Is it?
It's been plastic bags. It's film. That's by far the biggest offender. We also see a lot of styrofoam. And then we're trying to keep track of it. So every time that we have a house that's not picked up, we're putting it into a database, and then we're tracking over time. So we know if we have repeat offenders and what people are putting into their bins, that's contamination. But by and large, it's almost always plastic bags.
Is there anything else?
Claire, right before last time we saw each other, you were about to go door by door and hand out things. Were you able to start that process, or did the virus immediately shut you down and that process was stalled?
Unfortunately, the virus immediately shut that down. We are trying to work with Jen right now on increasing everything that goes out via social media, and everything goes out in the water bills and all those good things. So more information will be going door to door. It's just not in the way that we expected. So sitting right next to my desk are roughly 8 boxes of door hangers that will be going out as soon as we're back in the office. So stay tuned on that.
Has anyone got anything else they want to say? Oh, Clean Lake Committee. We actually just met at 5 o'clock. We come up with a list of 25 projects around the lake, and they've been put into an order of priority. And like Claire was saying, they're going to be part of the MVP, which is going to be presented to the town council at the end of May. Some of the projects are the Gertrude Spalding Park, the Main Street project, the pickleball tennis courts, And then there's some other street projects. And I think it was a good meeting. It was a second meeting, and we have a good list. So, and the plan is Claire's been working on the website, and there's going to be a map, a little bit interactive with which each of the projects are, where they are, and some pictures of either potentially what it will look like or what it's looking like now and what's going to be done. So hopefully we're working on that before the meeting, and that will be live. I think that was it for any other business? We talked about Earth Day, zero waste event obviously has been cancelled, but Julie still has the website up, right, Julie? And
yeah, so I just put a postponed thing on it today, but it's there, and there's a whole page for kind of tips and resources that we can keep populated. So I wouldn't mind kind of, and we have the Facebook page that has a pretty good following, so we can kind of cross fertilize a little bit if we have things to promote in terms of Earth Day or recycling or whatnot. So
Julie, one of the vendors that you were organized for it was the Trex decking for plastic bags.
yes.
Is there, as someone who like now consciously thinking that there's a source for where I can put my cereal bags, is there somewhere else I can send them, deliver them until
that's a really good point. I need to follow up with the Greenwood PTO. They really want to do it, and I'm saving mine as well. Now that we're all collecting plastic bags at the supermarket as well, I think it's really important to get the message out that they can be recycled. I also hope that the supermarkets are taking them back like they used to if they're giving them out, but I don't know. So let me follow up on that, and we'll get the message out. I will also say, maybe while we're on the subject and just following up on Claire's, and I think you're going to bring this up, Rob, but I had asked many months ago, long before this, that kind of April at Town Council, the two meetings be used to elevate some environmental issues because of Earth Day. So that's changed a little bit. We had planned to invite somebody from Green Communities to come and speak to Town Council at the end of the month, but I think given where we are on other priorities and budget, that's probably not the right approach right now, but I'll let Rob talk about speaking on Monday night. But the last meeting of April, which is, I don't know, around the 20, well, what's the 23rd, must be like late April. We were going to do a big thing around kind of the big purge and all of that, but I did ask our chairman to still keep recycling on the agenda, Claire. And so we have some ideas for how to give a presentation and maybe drive some of that home. So I think, because I really think that given the economic impact that we're likely to have here, and one of the biggest costs that we have right now in terms of increases in the budget is that the tipping fees. I mean, basically our trash prices are going up by like 50%. So I think that something this committee can do kind of in the short term and the long term while we're facing, and maybe some other things are on hold, is to really try to get things into the right bins. So promoting the composting, promoting the correct recycling, and raising awareness about just what goes into our municipal trash stream. And there may be some things coming on bulk items and whatnot. So I think, Claire, you and I'll talk with you kind of offline, but I imagine that you'll be a big part of that meeting as well.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that, because we're seeing a lot of communities right now who, Westwood comes to mind, their tonnage was up 20% just from the beginning of March till the end of March, just because of the amount of people who are home and producing more trash and recycling. And we're seeing that fairly across the board. I don't have our tonnage information quite yet, so we're still waiting on that, but we are watching other community rates that are like their recycling contamination is rising, or their just overall tonnage, or, you know, communities that are faced with suspending some overflow bags or whatever it may be, just because of the sheer volume. So I think that's definitely going to be a topic of conversation, and I look forward to chatting more about it.
Yeah, so the other business, yes, so as Julie mentioned, on Monday, Monday the 13th of April. I've been invited to talk at the town council meeting, just to give an overview of what we've been doing. So we're on the agenda. So.
Yeah, and it'll be a Zoom call, so anybody can call in.
Right,
So
that's a good point. So I'll try and figure out a bit closer to the time, but yeah, we can all dial in, say hello, and represent the Environmental Sustainability Committee. So I'll let you know when I think they just posted the agenda, so I'll have a look and see when we're on the agenda and let everybody know. I've got to try and work out some sort of presentation, I guess. If anybody's got any ideas of something they would like to put on there, that'd be great. And then I put on there the food pantry. Me and Claire have been at a couple of meetings with the food pantry and the Americal and the Boys and Girls Club, trying to do composting and zero waste. And they mentioned the post office drive. I don't know, Claire. Do you know if that's still on or if it's cancelled?
I haven't heard specifically about the post office food drive. Let me get back to you on that. My expectation then is that it's most likely postponed.
Yeah. The idea was we're going to be there, and potentially we were going to talk about it tonight and help with the composting of any of the goods that they receive that are out of date. But it sounds like it's pretty unlikely to be going ahead. So
yeah.
Any other items not anticipated? Anybody want anything they did bring up? Or? No. All right. Well, thank you for that. And our next meeting is May 14th. I assume they'll still be on Zoom calls, I guess.
Probably.
But, so yeah, stay safe and thanks everyone. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Mary, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a great night,
Thank
guys.
you.